Welcome everybody, Steve Burton here at Scale to Sell. If you're just joining us for the first time, we welcome you in. I'm a financial advisor based out of Virginia. I've become very interested in working with business owners over a long period of time. I work with clients of all types, people pre-retirement, they're already retired, but I have a fondness because I've been an entrepreneur for over 40 years. I have a fondness for working with business owners to find out what they did to get started, why some struggle, why some go on to great success, and a lot of people in between times. But one of these days, you're probably going to want to walk away from the business or the business, your health, whatever it might be. You'll have to go in another direction. It's estimated that this year alone, 2024, there's about over 300,000 business owners that will exit their business. And I think it's supposed to peak out at about 400,000 in 2025, 2026, and 2027, and then settle back down. Why? Because the baby boomers own most of the small businesses in this country, and they're getting to the point where they're either burnt out or the health is not allowing them to continue on. So if you've joined us on our podcast before, we talk about growing your business. We also talk about exiting your business. Our team of financial advisors, insurance agents, CPAs, tax planners, estate M&A experts, we help you grow your business and exit. And if you were invited on the call by one of my teammates in all 50 states, then we will make sure that you get back with them and they are part of our team. So you're not just talking to them, you're also talking to the whole, you have access to the whole team. Tonight's topic is we're going to talk about what does a successful exit look like. On our podcast on Scale to Sell, you can check us out at scaletosell.com. You can check out the podcast also online at Apple and iTunes. You can check out our YouTube channel. But Scale to Sell, we talk about, again, growing your business, but what does it take to be successful? A successful exit. A lot of times people will go, I'm burnt out, I want to retire. I've heard that numerous times, especially of late. Just over it, Steve. I'm over it. I'm ready to go. Between inflation and employee type situations, staffing issues, and other ongoing challenges, some business owners just want to get out and go down the road. Others are more realistic. One person recently said their wife wanted them to retire in 2 years' time. Okay, what makes you think you can retire? Well, Steve, I'm ready to go. That doesn't mean you can successfully retire. So there's three parts of it. One, what does your business finances look like? Personal finances, and then your personal situation. So let's talk about the two legs that apply to your money. Some of you, many of you might have put aside, finally, after struggling for years and decades, you might have started putting money into a SEP IRA or a 401k or some other investments, and you may have some money stashed over there, but is it enough by itself? Is that money that you put away, 100,000, $1 million, 2 million, whatever the number is, how much from the business will you have to harvest? Can you harvest it? Is the business transferable? People think that just because your business is doing well and you've got some strong numbers and you got strong income, you think that business is transferable. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I find that and if you talk to many people in our business, meaning that they work with business owners, one of the reasons that it doesn't sell is most business owners think their business is worth more than it actually is. But what will the market bear? Now, some of you are undervaluing the business. Let's go back to it. So let's talk about your personal finances. What does your personal finances look like? What does your income need to be day one when you retire? Many of us, after struggling for years, have built up, and if we're lucky enough, fortunate enough, after hard work, decades of working 50, 60, 70 hours a week or more, many of us have went on to create some substantial income, nice lifestyle. You where you were driving old beat up cars before, now you got some nice ones. Now you got a nice house, maybe a house or two, a beach house, a lake house, a mountainside cabin, whatever it might be. You like to travel, you got money in your pocket. If you go to sporting events, you get some of the best seats around, and people have come to know you. And so in retirement, I suspect that you don't want that lifestyle to retreat, go down, be less than what it is right now. And so we're not going to talk about whether it's an internal sell or an external sale? Internal meaning to your kids or maybe management group, and how is that done correctly? We'll talk maybe a little bit about it. But then a outside sale, is it to a competitor, somebody wanting to come into your market space and grow in that market, and you've got something going on that they want to add to their team? Or maybe it's a private equity firm, some outside source. What does that look like? Back to the personal finances. We got an example in a second. And then many of you, just because you think that just because you want to retire, financially speaking, you will be able to. So let's move on. I've got an example that we drew up. I got a couple, Paul and Laura here, and this is kind of a made-up couple, but it's not. It's an example of many of the people I've come across over the years. They're both ages 62, all right, want to exit their business in 3 years. At least they didn't wait to the last second here, so they're at least they're thinking ahead. By the way, side note, most of you think you're going to sell the business. It's not like selling a house where you pull up some comps, plant it for sale side in the front yard, and people drive by, you market it online, and somebody comes up and writes you a check, and you move on down the road. One, you're going to learn something through this conversation tonight. Even if you're burned out, even if you're ready to go, doesn't mean the business is marketable. Or even if it is, that you'll be able to harvest enough equity out of the business to commingle with your personal assets to sell off into the sunset and maintain that lifestyle, as I was talking about before. But here we go. Current income, $350,000. Now, you know for a fact that if that's what they're reporting on their taxes, are they writing off some vehicles? What other expenses? Is their real income higher than that? Very likely it is, but we'll use that as a number. $350,000. Heating and cooling company they've owned for 25 years. The story goes, and I've heard it over and over again, we struggled for years, old beat up truck, and finally we started hitting on some things, and the business is doing as good as it's ever been. Other than having a hard time finding technicians, it's pretty good right now. Annual gross sales of about $10 million. There'll be somebody in this space, whether it's a competitor around town, maybe somebody, a corporate type looking to leave the corporate life and start out and wants to buy an established business. Maybe it's their kids. Maybe it's a management team. Maybe it's a private equity firm looking to bundle these heating and air conditioning businesses up and sell it for an even larger multiple down the road once they build up an even bigger team. But here we go. $350,000, $10 million in gross sales, have not had an estimate of value, an opinion of value done in years. They're guessing at what the value of their business is. If you've been on our calls before, if you've checked out our podcast, one of our M&A specialists, one of our M&A experts, one of those guys that help you sell your business, his name is Jeff Snell. Jeff is one of the best in the industry. He's been doing this for well over 20 years, and he will do an estimate of value. If you're listening here for the first time, Jeff will do an estimate of value because you're a part of our listenership, of our viewership here. He will do an opinion of value at no cost. Now that is worth thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars. How can this business owner exit without knowing what the value of the business is? Because as we look at their personal assets, you know for a fact that they're counting on some of that revenue from the business to commingle with their personal assets to be able to maintain that lifestyle. Because even though they've saved over $1 million in 401k monies, they've got a brokerage account, as you can see. They're sitting on some cash. Their house is worth $1 million, but they don't want to move. In this case, they said they want to stay in the house. They like it. Plenty of room for the kids and grandkids to come over. They got a pool in the backyard. They like it, and they even have a lake house now. And there is a balance on that mortgage. They've had it for a while, and they paid the loan down, but they're still paying a $4,000 a month payment. A couple of side notes really quickly. That lake house, they got a chunk of equity in that house, but they've got still number of years, decades even, of a $4,000 a month payment. Now, on making $350,000, having a $4,000 a month mortgage payment is manageable. But when that income goes away and now it's down to Social Security and other assets, will they be able to maintain that beach house? I'm sure they would like to, Again, most business owners, after working so hard, don't want their lifestyle to be less than what it is right now. That's true whether you're a business owner or an employee type, right? But let's go back to the personal assets. If Social Security benefits, they're going to crank out some money or whatever, and the Social Security is going to be about $50,000 a year. The personal assets right there, if you use the 4% rule, $1 million will crank out $40,000 a year if you use the 44% rule. That's a theory that's been around for about 30 years now. And it says that you should be able to safely take 4% out of a retirement account and not run out of money. But back to the point here, if Social Security is 50 grand, if your personal assets will provide about another $50,000 a year, and they wanted $200,000, I said starting income here because we always count for about 3% inflation rate. So we know if they need 200,000 right now, they have an income gap of $100,000. Where's it going to come from? It's going to come from the sell of that business. Well, they don't know what the value of the business is. They have a guess at what it is, but what's the real number? Just because they're doing $10 million in sales a year, do they have processes in place? Do they have contracts with a lot of their clients? In that business, in the heating and air conditioning business, if you have service contracts, people will pay a multiple for that. Will your team stay in place? If you're the main driver of the business, you're the number one salesperson, you have to be there and everybody calls on you to fix problems. Is that business really manageable and transferable without you being there? That's why you set up things. That's why we talk about scale to sell, setting up people and processes. The intangible assets, it's not just the numbers that show up on a P&L statement. It's the other things, the intangible things like your leadership team. Will they stay in place for the new owners? Even if it's your kids taking it over, will they stay in place and report to them? Will they work for them? Perhaps they like them better than you. Maybe they're being more motivated from them than they are to you. But do we know that? So there's a lot of things that go into to sell the business. So what could the business be worth? What will they walk away with? Well, if they need another $100,000, back to the 4% rule again, so what will we need to sell the business for to net out $100,000? Around $3 million, maybe even more. Will the business be worth that much? I don't know. We haven't had an estimate or opinion of value. It may be worth $5 million, I don't know. I don't know what the bottom line is. I know what the gross sales are. I know they're paying themselves $350,000 a year. If somebody comes in, maybe that's wrapped back in there because whoever's coming in doesn't need that owner there anymore. And those numbers can fold back into the bottom line and increase the multiple. Maybe they can walk away, but remember, whatever you walk away with, whether it's $1 million, $2 million, 10 million, whatever the number is, Uncle Sam's going to be there with their hand out. That's why you need a tax planning team like we have here at Scale to Sell, because it doesn't matter if you get a big old number. You want to make sure that Uncle Sam is mitigated and then whatever other fees. But let's say that this couple can walk away with, I don't know, $2.5, $3 million. It's a hypothetical number because I don't know until we do an opinion of value of what that real EBITDA looks like. What's the real number? I know what their tax number looks like, but the tax number and the real number are not necessarily the same, right? Well, Steve, I'm going to sell it. Let's go back. And that was selling it to a third party. You have a windfall. Okay, you mitigate the taxes, you put the money in the right buckets, and you sell off into the sunset. You set up income strategies, you account for inflation, long-term care, future taxes, and we set up a trust for you to make sure that you've sold the business now, make sure that your assets are protected, and your family is going to be, inheriting the rest of the money. What happens if we sell it to a family member? You probably heard us say that stats say that only about 30% of all businesses are handed off to the next generation. That generation, your kids, only about 30% of the time is that successful. So let's say you do have, your kids are motivated, they're capable, they're able, Well, whatever the number is, $1 million, 2 million, 3 million, are they going to be able to write the check for that and buy you out at all at one time? Or are you going to self-finance? You're going to be the bank. Well, if that's the case, there's a risk there. There's a risk that they'll crash and burn the company, or risk that something happens to them. You better make sure you protect them by perhaps writing some life insurance on them to, if something, God forbid, happens. I've seen it happen. It's painful enough if you lose a key person in your business. It's another thing if it's a family member. But let's say you have to finance it, so you're not going to have a big windfall if you sell it to a management team or a family member. You're probably not going to have a major windfall of money. That's a risk. Now, you may even get more money out of it over time. I've seen business owners where they financed it, and 20 years later, they're still collecting a full paycheck, right? But typically, it's a period of time, 5 years, 10 years. They bought you out. You're on to the next chapter in your life, and it works out. It can work out okay. But in that situation, what we recommended is that even if you do sell it to your children or management team, there's processes, there's things that you can do to at least get some of your money up front. De-risk that situation by getting an SBA loan, helping your kids do that, or your management team to do that, get it structured. Our team, Jeff Snell, and some of the people on our team can help you do that. So even if you do finance some of the money, you lower the risk because you got at least some of it in a lump sum. Maybe it's paid out, or the remaining balance is paid out. Maybe you get 80 or 90% up front, and then the other whatever percentage, 10 or 20%, you self-finance for the next 5 years or so, and then you're done. There's all kinds of ways to do this, but the thing that keeps a lot of people from retiring, business owners, is they think that just because they're burnt out, I'm ready to retire. Well, maybe you are, but maybe you're not. Let's go back to the third part of this deal. So you got to have your personal finances lined up. You have how much money do you got set aside? Any? Remember the stats that we've said over the time that we've been doing these podcasts? For most business owners, about 80% of their net worth is tied up in their business. I know that was true for me for a long time until I started diversifying. So is your personal finances squared away? Your business finances, will you be able to harvest enough equity from the sale of the business in order to commingle with your personal finances to go about your business and maintain that life and travel and live that lifestyle, not have to sell the lake house, not have to sell your cars and drive old beaters all the time? You want to make sure your finances are squared away. And that's why working with somebody that is experienced, an exit planner, or even a certified exit planner like we have on our teams, that was when it gets real, the real numbers. The third leg of the stool is personal. What does that mean? What are you going to do when you sell the business? And even if you stay on for 6 months or a year through a transition period, what are you going to do with all your time once the business is done? Well, Steve, I just want to retire. I'm just tired. I want to be done with this. I've heard it all, right? Well, that's going to last for about maybe a month. Then what are you going to do? Here in Virginia, it gets cold in the wintertime. I know you like to fish, golf, pickleball, whatever it is. You want to travel, but people get over that really quickly sometimes. You better have a plan, because if you don't have something to occupy your time, you'll either drive yourself crazy or your spouse or other family members. It will not be a good day. A lot of times, about 3/4 of the time, people regret selling the business because they haven't thought it all through. And sometimes they walk away with a big chunk of money. They have adequate assets to maintain their lifestyle, but they haven't thought about that next chapter when everything is done. And many times they'll go back and find another business or find something to do just because, again, they're bored. So your finances, both personal and business, how much do you have to sell the business for to commingle with your personal assets to maintain your lifestyle? And then the third leg of the stool after finances is, what are you going to do to stay stay happy, stay busy, stay active, stay mentally active, because it is a big deal. After a period of time, it get really crazy and it will wear on you. Guys, that's just a little thought right there. If you want to get, first off, I think it all starts with getting an opinion of value. What is your plan? The sooner you start to plan, the better it's going to be. Don't wait till the last second, because again, if you're going to put your house on the market, that still takes timing. People take the house off the market during the holidays and whatever and put it back on in early spring. And they have time typically to spruce it up, declutter it, and get it ready for marketplace to get top dollar. Businesses are a little bit different. I've talked to a number of business owners recently because of the economy. Their sales are off, inflation is hurting the consumer, and their sales are off. And they've had to pull the business off of the market. And what they thought was worth a while back, it's not worth that much. They try to time the sale of the business. It's hard. It's kind of like trying to time the stock market. You start planning earlier. Some of you don't think your business is ready to go, and just with a couple little tweaks, you might be able to get top dollar, because in your industry, did you know there are people out there that we could connect you with are willing to pay top dollar, a high multiple, and if you wait, you might get less money by waiting a year or two. Guys, if you want to start a conversation with us and our team, I encourage you to take out your phone, scan the QR code right there, and that will take you right to our website, scaletosell.com/discovery. That will get you started in getting that opinion of value. What is your largest asset, your business, really worth? Right? And what do you want to do after that? So a lot of you have commercial real estate. You might own the building that you're in, and some of you just want to be done with it. Some of you want to sell the business but keep the real estate and collect the rent off of that. That's a valid strategy as well. Whatever it is you want to do, it all starts with getting a plan of action. And for those of you that say, well, Steve, I'm never going to retire. You will retire one of these days. I joke, kind of a dark joke, but you will retire one of these days, because you're not going to live forever. Therefore, you will not work forever. You need to have a transition plan. What happens to the business should something happen to you? What happens to the business should you not be able to work anymore? You haven't died or anything, but you just physically, mentally, perhaps can't continue on with the business. If it's your largest asset, you need to protect that asset and get a plan. We believe that exit planning, every 90 days, you're either growing or you're looking to exit. What's my off ramp? It's still 3 months down the road, 3 years down the road. Now it's 2 years and 9 months, 2.5 years. The strategies out there that you need, you always want to be having a plan and be ready to exit. And if there's things that need to be done to tweak it out, put people and processes in place to make your business more valuable. What does the marketplace look for this industry right now? Well, it's not getting any better. Maybe you want to grow your business. Maybe you want to acquire another business. I've seen people do that with great success. I've seen people acquire a business and they really didn't know what they were getting into. If you're looking to acquire a business, you should have Jeff do an evaluation of your business, have our team look at not only your business, but the business that you're looking to acquire. Too much growth. One of my mentors about 40 years ago told me this. We were growing really rapidly in another business I had. He said, Steve, we need to slow down. Too much growth will kill you as bad as just as dead as not enough growth. So if you're looking to acquire a business, make sure you have it analyzed. The new business is analyzed by experts out there that will make sure and give you warnings in case there's something under the hood that you didn't see, you didn't catch. Guys, this is Steve Burton for the team here at Scale to Sell. If we can be any help to you, check out the website and get your free estimate or opinion of value. And all it starts with going to scaletosell.com/discovery, and make sure you check out our podcast on your favorite podcasting platform, and check out also our YouTube channel. Sign up for the Thursday business builder tips that we have as well. We're trying to bring great value to you. Guys, God bless you. Take care. Hope you got a little bit out of this, and we'll see you next time. Be safe.